In my videos, I always tell you to look at the bigger picture. Well, you don't only see things in your daily life, you also hear things. So you look beyond, that implies you also hear beyond. Okay, let me explain it simple as this. When you hear someone speaking, when someone is talking, listen carefully to what they're saying, just pay attention. You may notice if they're repeating themselves or if they contradict themselves, but also pay attention to what they are suggesting. For example, let's say you're talking to someone about, well, you're saying something like this. You don't have to grow old and become sick and tired of life. You can become older and stand on both your feet. Because there are people that are in their 80s or 90s, sometimes even in the hundreds, they're walking around like they're in the 20s. And let's say your conversation partner says, well, it's the hope you still have those legs by then. And for a moment you're shocked. Now what happened there? Your brain registered some kind of danger, some kind of threat based on what was said. But you thought, well, you didn't really consciously notice it. But what was going on? The individual you were talking to suggested that maybe some accident or some tragedy may happen and you may lose some limbs. Now, based on what, really? There was no base for such an assumption. And maybe if you would ask the individual, why do you say something like that? He or she may say, well, you never know what will happen. Okay, but that is not any evidence that just because you don't know what's going to happen, that some tragedy will take place. Also, good stuff can happen. Look, this may be a very short example or a short parable, but I'm using it to illustrate to you that you need to hear beyond what people are saying. That individual just said, well, it's just a hope you still have those legs when you're older. Such an individual has already revealed, probably did it without them being aware of it, because people often reveal things without them being aware of it. That's why when interrogators at the police station or of the FBI or some intelligence service, when they are interrogating people, they use tactics because they know how the human mind operates. People often reveal more than they want to reveal. And often reveal things in an unconscious manner. They're not even aware they've revealed it. So, for example, in that parable I just gave onto you, that individual who suggested that some tragedy may happen that may cause you to be deformed bodily, that individual is in line with the negative. That individual readily gives over to negative outcomes, just like that. That's what that individual revealed. So you hear beyond what someone said. Now, if you encounter someone like this, I advise you, if it's someone you don't have to be in contact with, lower contact and eventually break all contact. Because such an individual will be used by the enemy to put spells on you, to suggest harm on you. And when someone keeps suggesting harm on you, your brain builds a pattern on their predictions, and before you know it, you begin to expect it unconsciously. That is how the mind operates. What you feed it, that will grow. Now, this doesn't count for everything. There are things that you receive and you throw away. But on the unconscious level, you will pick things up. Consciously, when you've been fed something, you can throw it away. But unconsciously, things may build up in you. So when you have someone that keeps suggesting bad outcomes, I'm telling you, please lower contact. You don't have to become angry, cut someone off, and fight with someone and argue with an individual. No, just lower your contact. Me, I lowered contact with a lot of folks, and I eventually broke contact with certain people because they kept suggesting bad outcomes, especially when there was no evidence nor any hint that a bad outcome was about to happen. They just expect bad outcomes because that's what they do. They think it's normal. They think it's a form of adulthood, of being realistic to expect bad outcomes, even when there's nothing to point out towards a bad outcome. I'm telling you, if you encounter someone like this, lower contact and eventually, if it's possible, break all contact. I don't care if it's someone of the opposite sex, and I'm talking to you men here because men have a weakness in this area. Men. I don't care if the individual of the opposite sex, whether it's just a colleague of yours or whether just a friend or whatever. I don't care how attractive she is, how lovely you feel when you're around her, if she keeps suggesting bad outcomes, cut her off slowly. Lower contact and break all contact. Because look, you don't have to be romantically or sexually involved with someone for them to affect you. If someone is of the opposite sex, if someone is around you and you feel comfortable around someone, but that individual keeps suggesting bad outcomes, you're being bewitched. Yes, that's what's happening. The individual may not be aware he or she's bewitching you, but the demons inside of that individual, or the demons use that individual, is using their bad thinking to bewitch you. Yes, unclean spirits bewitch people through ignorant folks that often don't know any better, but are still used by the unclean spirits to bewitch you. And to you men, beware of those female associates you have. There's nothing wrong with having female associates. Christ had them also when he walked the earth. He had female associates that began to follow him, that began to support his ministry. Just realize that when someone just gives themselves over to expecting bad outcomes just like that, they're not even safe to have as an associate. Sometimes not even on social media. You shouldn't even have them on social media, because that may be even too much space for them to affect you. Look, you are powerful in Christ, but nevertheless, you have weaknesses, and those weaknesses are natural. And the enemy will try to use your weaknesses to drag you down, and he will use other people for it. That's why I'm warning you here. And I'm also encouraging you. There are people that will suggest good outcomes on to you. There are even some worldly people who just expect good outcomes because they realize you can't remain in the negative. But there are many folks who just give in to pessimistic expectations because they think that's a sign of you maturing. No, that's not a sign of maturity. That's a sign of you stagnating. Well, that's it for now. Remember, listen to what people are saying and hear beyond what they're saying. Okay? That being said, be at peace.